Thank you for tuning in to Talking Bay 94, the Star Wars podcast devoted to interviews with the cast, crew, and creators of a galaxy far, far away. I'm your host, Brandon Winerdy, and today I'm talking to Greg Grunberg, who played X-Wing pilot Snap Wexley. We talk about a lot: his role in Heroes, being directed by his best friend J.J. Abrams, upcoming opportunities for Snap to make his triumphant return, as well as working alongside both his acting idols and the cast of creatures that populate the Star Wars galaxy. This is Talking Bay 94, Episode 64, Greg Grunberg. So thank you so much for coming on. And first off, happy early birthday.
Thank you.
Tomorrow, right? So
Yeah. Oh man, dude, it's like with the pandemic and everything going on, I become exhausted doing anything. Like I went for a bike ride with my kids yesterday, and I was like, man, get home. Yeah, last night. I mean, yesterday was like a big day for all of us, comparatively, for everybody staying in. We shot a comedy special with some great comedians. I have a studio in North Hollywood, and we had Tom Papa and Kira Saltanovich and Jesus Trejo and Kirk Fox and Josh Pollock and Tom Papa. And oh my God, it was just like awesome. But anyway, got home. I played the drums in back of them, and then and I'm producing this with Tom, and then no audience, because we can't have an audience. And it just killed. It absolutely killed. And just got home, and I was just wiped, dude. I mean, do you find that when you're...
Oh, yeah. Well, even just like 5 seconds ago, I went and picked up lunch, and I was like, oh, that took a lot out of me to like get out of my car and like go get the curbside. And so I was like, it's fine. And just trying to... I have a virtual wedding this afternoon, so that'll be interesting. My first virtual wedding. Yeah.
Wait, so whose is it?
It's my cousins in Virginia for an hour-and-a-half Roman Catholic Latin Mass, but over Facebook. So it'll be great. It'll be just
wow. Okay, wait. So where are you? Are you in Virginia?
No, I'm in Dallas. Dallas,
okay,
Texas,
okay.
So
my son played baseball in Virginia. He's my son's a college baseball player, and they have the summer leagues, and he played in Virginia. It was just awesome, man.
Yeah.
People are so great there, man.
Yeah,
it was really fun.
That's great. Well, I mean, before we even dive into Star Wars and to everything, I would love to first just talk about you growing up and your inspirations to even just get into acting in the first place.
Well, I was always that kid who kind of not, wanted. I mean, I didn't realize until later it was, we all love attention, and I just loved getting a reaction more than anything else. It was just something that interested me. People interested me. And looking back now, it's not like, when I was 7, I was like, people interest me. It wasn't like that. Right. But I just knew back then, and I had some really creative people around me. My friends were all incredibly creative and funny, like really, really funny and goofy and silly. And we would just always get, I think, just to satisfy our own, need to just laugh and everything. We would, wait for something funny, and then we create it in school and everything. And that was, J.J. Abrams and I, where we met when we were 5. So in elementary school, we were goofing off and having fun. I couldn't wait to see him between classes if we didn't have classes together, whatever. And then after school, I would go over to his house, and we were both super creative. He, as you can imagine, was just brilliant even back then. And all his Super 8 movies, Super 16 movies or whatever, I starred in them, and not all of them, but I would help him. I'd be right there. We were doing like, I don't know if you remember, but you're so young, but like there was a thing called a pitchback, where you would throw the ball and it would hit this like trampoline that was on an angle, and it would bounce back at you, right? So so we did a fake commercial where it was possessed. So you would throw the ball and it would come back at like lightning speed and kill kids, and it's like terrible.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, but like stuff like that, and like dolls that came to life and killed people, and I just came across this box of VHS tapes, of like our wedding and everything, and in there was all of these movies that JJ had done, and JJ was interviewed on and I'm in a bunch of them, so that's why I have them. But he was on a show, public access show about young filmmakers, and I videotaped the screen. My buddy at my office digitized it.
Yeah,
all these tapes, and then I sent it to JJ. He's like, where did you, and why do you have that? And it was just
Yeah,
awesome to go down
that's
memory lane.
awesome.
So I've always had that bug. I've always had that itch. And then I was starting all these school plays and productions. I never took it seriously. I wasn't like a kid actor. I didn't have any fantasies about like doing commercials when I was a kid. My parents were not those parents. My dad was in the clothing business, and my mom was a homemaker, and she's just amazing. I had a great upbringing, and I was into sports like crazy, and unlike my friend, some of my friends that were super creative, they weren't. So I kind of dabble, which is still the same thing I do today. I dabble, man. I'm
Right.
like, I dabble in a million different things. And as an actor, that's a really good thing, because when I'm asked to play a doctor, I have that compassion. I love putting on that coat and pretending. When I'm asked to play a cop, I mean, I just can't wait to do that. I've played a cop. I've played an FBI agent, this and that, in so many roles.
Right.
And I love it. And then also having a diverse group of friends. I mean, I had so many different types of friends. I was friends with everybody. I didn't really have a clique that I clung to. I have a few friends that I call like JJ, and then I have Todd and Frank, these people that and then a whole other group of friends that, by the way, now during COVID, you get together on Facebook, right? On Zoom, and you're just like, I haven't seen these guys in a long time. But it really kind of lets me know, oh, wow. I mean, there's all different types of people from all over the world now that I was friends with back then. And and it just makes for a good sort of character study and compassion and understanding of different people. So when I play these different roles, even though there's a lot of me in a lot of these roles, I do have, kind of an understanding of all types of people, which is great.
Right. That is great. And I mean, it even just goes even further. As soon as you start getting into your roles, I mean, the one that always sticks out to me is, of course, Heroes, because that was like, obviously by my age, but there wasn't a lot of mainstream comic book and superheroes even then. And then when NBC is like, oh, on this, we have, I think it was Heroes and Chuck around the same time doing the same thing for the same groups. And it was just kind of a nice, the geek and pop culture really came to the forefront for how we view things now. And I'd be curious, you worked with JJ, especially early on with Alias and Felicity, and then moving through the geek circles. I'd be curious with your thoughts, especially now as a Star Wars actor, how that has changed and how that has evolved over the years for you and how you've seen it grow.
There's, first of all, Heroes was really transformative as far as TV is concerned. I mean, there had been obviously, all of these things on TV before, sci-fi sort of genre stuff, but to actually create characters that the audience could say, oh, I could wake up tomorrow and have a power like Tim Krang and all those guys, Jeff Loeb and Brian Fuller, Jesse Alexander, they were so brilliant. Joe Pekowski in saying, okay, this could really happen to anyone. These are ordinary people experiencing extraordinary abilities, and it was a discovery, and it was exciting, and it was so cool. I mean, that show broke ground. Now there's shows that are doing it much better than we did it. Although, arguably, I think they're still Heroes was just one of the greatest.
Yep. I agree.
But I've been a part of some of them. I'm a huge fan of The Boys. I'm a huge fan.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Huge fan of what Greg Berlanti's doing. My buddy Kevin Smith directed a couple episodes, and I was able to be on The Flash a little. So, I love all that stuff. It's just, I don't know. There was, and it was really interesting how, like you just said, you just reminded me that NBC did Chuck and Heroes at a time when, NBC was known way before that. They were kind of flailing. They didn't really have an identity again.
Right.
They were the sitcom network.
Yeah.
They were, every brilliant sitcom that came out, and then they had these dramas. So they really took a leap. I mean, now you think of a show like that and you go, oh, CW and FX and Fox, and, you don't really think NBC. Does NBC have any genre shows on right now that aren't?
I don't know. No.
Ghost Whisperer, kind of really traditional things. I don't think so.
No.
But they took a big swing. That show was super expensive, and it became the biggest show in the world when it was on. It was,
I know,
just amazing. So I was so lucky to be a part of it. And then that character, still to this day, and I've been really, really lucky in the roles that I've gotten over the years. But Still to this day, that was like, for me, leaving the nest of JJ, which is always tough to do. I just love working with my buddy. And then I auditioned for the role of Peter Petrelli. Couldn't have been more wrong. And I didn't even know about Matt Parkman at the time. I was driving home and they called and they said, look, good news, bad news. You're the worst Peter Petrelli ever. And the good news is there's this other role that you don't know about. You're a cop. And Tim Kring originally wrote it after like a Matt Dillon type cop. And I'm just much more character. And he was like, man, I just see in your eyes, I see in your performance that you're so relatable. We would love you to play this role. And dude, to play a role on a show like that where you have powers, but you have powers of hearing people's thoughts and emotions and mind. It's, to me, it was one of the best roles to play because it wasn't, I mean, nothing against Adrian, he's my good friend, but like flying, it's like, and they all played it with emotion and they all played it with character and relationship stuff. And it was really, it's all character first. Every one of those characters was relatable and great. Mossy, I mean, all of them. But I just think my role was one of the best on the show.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
And it was like a slow simmer too. Like, if you were just an immediate comic book fan, I mean, you would gravitate towards Mossy. Like, oh my God, the guy, what a great actor, what a great character. Right. And then you go, wait, Allie's character's great, and this and that, and oh my God, Hayden, and but when you really get down to it, and you had those scenes where I'm like, I look back now, I see these clips and these GIFs and stuff, and I'm like, man, I forget a lot of the stuff that I shot, and it was all like such emotion, such gravitas for me to hang on to as an actor. It's just awesome, man. Really great.
No, that's so great. And well, actually, I'm going to be able to talk to Mossy next Thursday because he did Industrial Light and Magic for the prequels, and so I was like, that's an excuse for me to talk to him. So he actually just emailed a little bit ago, so we're scheduling that for next week.
Oh, that's so great! I'm excited. Tell him I said hello.
I will.
He's the greatest. And we actually did Hawaii Five-0. We had a couple of scenes together on Hawaii Five-0, 1 or 2, I think, but it was just great.
That is great.
I love that guy. Yeah. And Heroes, obviously Heroes is back on Peacock. So I'm going to be doing, hopefully one way or another, I'm going to do some kind of like I'm calling it Heroes on Heroes. And I'm going to interview a ton of these people. We had, from George Takei to, there's just some amazing Malcolm McDowell, amazing actors, Eric Roberts and people. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
No, that's going to be awesome. And that, I mean, again, I just keep talking about Heroes. This is a Heroes podcast now. Sorry, I'm encroaching on your territory. But the guest stars and and how it was so appreciative of the culture, right? Because even like you're saying, George Takei showing up in a, network show in, what was that, 2008 or whatever, is huge for someone that grew up, watching Star Trek reruns and then seeing it mainstream again.
And not just doing a quick cameo. I mean, the guy, he played a role that was so pivotal.
Right.
And he killed it. Yeah. Absolutely killed it. I just loved it. So yeah, it was great. Well,
I mean, your genre roles just keep continuing. And something that always stuck out to me, especially growing up in that time frame, was, it was like a secret code. It was like a special thing where I would know, like, oh, like that's Greg Grunberg, like as the voice of Captain Kirk's dad, or like knowing that you would always show up in a J.J. Abrams thing, and then kind of ingratiating yourself in the pop culture community. It was great. What are your experiences? Especially Lost sticks out to me as the pilot, and then of course the Star Trek appearances. What was it like going to those universes, at least for a brief moment, and still just establishing yourself as a pretty dominant force in all of your appearances?
Well, thank you. I mean, that's what I try and do, as no matter how small the role is, I try and steal it. I try to make it memorable. I try to give it humanity. But remember back, like all these things that you're citing back then, there wasn't Comic-Cons. I mean, there were, but they weren't forward facing. They were kind of like, it was a secret thing, you're going to go and what are you doing? You're dressing up. What an idiot. Meanwhile, I was a huge fan and I was like digging through and watching these things and searching them out. And then all of a sudden this stuff, it sort of coalesced and all of it came together. And now, even the term genre, it's like, oh, okay. So now we're going to label all this stuff, put it all together. And then I look back, at some point, many years ago, I looked back and I was like, wow, I've been in a bunch of these things. And that enabled me, and I still do get these offers to do passion projects that I absolutely love.
Right.
Big Ass Spider is one that I just loved doing, and we're talking about doing another one. And there's there's a movie out right now. I mean, it's just about to launch, and I produced and star in it. It's called Max Reload and the Nether Blasters. Kevin Smith's in it. Lynn Shay's in it. Joe, Reitman and Hassie Harrison and Tom Plumley and all these amazing people. And it's just fun to be able to go, okay, well, I know that I've got an audience that at least, like you just said, they're like, oh, there's Greg Grunberg. It's like, at least we'll identify and go, oh, I want to see this just because I like that guy. And then you kind of know, all right, it's not going to take itself too seriously. It's going to be well done. Those are the principles by which I choose a project. I'm like, is this fun? Are the people good? Are they capable? Do they have the funds to finish it? Because that's a big deal. And can I sink my teeth into it? And will the people that are creating this appreciate the work that I've put in to this point? Like, I know my shit. I know what I'm good at. I know what I like, and I think I know what the audience likes. So at least let me produce. Let me help out in calling my friends, and that's how all those people got to be in this movie. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, it's a great movie. And then it also affords me, I'm gonna shamelessly plug.
No, please do.
It also affords me to do things like this.
Yeah.
This is my graphic novel, and dude, this is killing it. Like, kids, this is in scholastic book fairs all across the country. Kids write to me all the time. This is about, and we've got that, book 1, and then here's book 2.
Yeah.
And if you're not familiar with Dream Jumper, and by the way, J.J. Abrams does the foreword here. Kevin Smith does the foreword here. I'm no dummy. I went to the Kings. Kings of genre. But it's about a kid. My son had a dream, and he woke up, and I was trying to put him back to sleep. And I said, "What's going on?" He goes, "It was so real, Dad. It was so real." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Dreams are real sometimes. Do you remember it? You want to write it down? He was like, "No, it was like, it wasn't my dream." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he goes, It was like I was able to jump in and out of my friends' dreams and save them from their worst nightmares." And I was like, "What?" I said, "You're not going to sleep. We're paying for college. Let's go." And then I partnered with an amazing storyteller and illustrator. Amazing. Lucas Turnbloom, if people don't know who he is. He's not only an artist, he's like I said, a great storyteller. And we partnered, we wrote it together. He did all the art. Scholastic picked it up after a bit of a bidding war. And then, we've got 2 books, and now we, fingers crossed, we're going to take it to the next level, either TV or film. So that's awesome. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, and people just pick that up on Amazon. It's super easy and
everywhere. Yeah,
awesome. I mean, going back, talking about being kids and being inspired, I would love, especially with your recent forefront into actually being in Star Wars, I would love to hear your experiences with the saga growing up. Like, what was the first time you saw it? How was that experience for you?
I remember it being the first time, and JJ talks about this too, but I really, really remember this. It's the first time that I actually left the theater or finished watching something, anything, TV or film or a book or anything, where I couldn't stop talking about it, thinking about it, and thinking in my imagination, letting my imagination run wild, where I felt like, wow, what if Darth Vader was this and that, and what if Luke did this or that, or Princess Leia could have done this and that. I mean, I really felt invested. I felt like It's like the best pitch ever, when you go and you pitch and you're like, yeah, so it's about a kid that can jump in and out of dreams, and then the person you're pitching goes, hey, what if? So now you've got them, man. Now they feel like they are somehow responsible for it, or they're adding to the creativity of it. I never felt that way about other stuff until that point. I remember Star Wars very specifically grabbing me emotionally, and obviously now as an adult I can look at it and go, okay, well, it's because the characters were so well developed, the world was so well developed, and it was so strange because it was relatable, but at the same time mysterious, and it was just like it took me away, but I felt comfortable there. It was weird, and I just loved it. It was so exciting. And so I remember as a kid watching that, and then fast forward to having my best friend and creative just buddy, he's my brother, at the helm of it. Like, hearing that he is going to take that on was so unbelievably cool and exciting. It wasn't surprising. at all. I mean, he had worked wonders with a few other franchises, bringing them back, but this was so incredibly valuable, business wise. It was everything. It was like, okay, so here are the keys to the Marvel universe. It's like Feige, he did a great job with JJ, that now being given the keys to Star Wars, and what a just responsibility. But he's so brilliant, and he's so collaborative, and so appreciates that whole, the canon more than anyone else. I mean, Star Trek too, but growing up, we were much bigger Star Wars fans than we were Star Trek fans. So, and it's intimidating. Like, it's intimidating much more so, I think, in the Star Trek world than it is the Star Wars world. But, for me to cross over into both, that's just ridiculous. Like, for me to have roles in both, and it's all thanks to JJ. I mean, there's no, no mystery, but for me to be able to, say I'm Finnegan and the evil stepdad, but also mainly Finnegan, and then, Snap Wexley, like, what? Now, okay, so now let's put these two things together. Now, I thought would ruin this franchise for me as a fan. And only because, dude, when you're behind the curtain, you just think, oh, okay, now I'm going to, never meet your heroes.
Right.
Couldn't be more. You want to meet your heroes, people. Let me tell you right now, you want to get to know Carrie Fisher. I mean, I feel so blessed and so lucky to have had the time that I had with her. And now Billy and I are really good friends, and everybody, Oscar and Boyega, everybody. I mean, just, Kelly, Kelly, like, forget it. It's unbelievable to be on the set and like to have a real conversation with Harrison Ford, who's my hero. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
And it only enhances the experience for me. I have to say, it's an appreciation now. Like, I watch and I watch the movies and I'm like, it takes me out when I see myself. I'm like, but I know what it took to make it happen. I know, from the inception, from how excited JJ is and was and still is about everything Star Wars, it just makes it so much better. And also, dude, I'm like, I walk around Comic-Con and I'm like, oh, look at that Star Wars shirt and look what this artist did and everything. And then the person's like, hey, you're Snap Wexley. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I am. It's a weird thing, man.
That's great.
Yeah, I love it.
That's so good. I mean, I'd love to, because you were saying like Force Awakens is probably one of the biggest risks in like modern movie history, right? Like, if that movie had been anything less than what it was, like, we would have gotten the eventual movies, but that movie was just pitch perfect with how it set everything back up, how it reintroduced a new generation to the world, but also was respected to all the
by the way, and how it shocked the shit out of everybody. Like, I remember watching that movie. So I have JJ's mixing it. We already did, it's mixed. He's mixing. He's like, I just want you to come in. We're doing the mix. It's really cool to see it on the screen with the sound and everything. I was like, oh, cool. So I go. I had no idea what I was in for. I sit down, and it's, there's the whole board. It's a theater, but there's all kinds of really cool stuff. They're mixing there. It's like a any kind of recording studio. But anyway. And they're about to start, and we're waiting. And JJ goes, "You're excited?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm so excited! I can't wait to see this. This is awesome!" And people are giggling and whatever, because they've all seen it and they've seen me. I haven't seen any of it yet or anything. In walks John Williams, dude, and I'm like, "What's going on?" I thought it was just me. And he goes, JJ goes, "Mr. John Williams, I'd like you to meet." And before he can even finish, Mr. Williams was like, "Snap Wexley, hey Greg, how are you?" And I'm like, what just happened? And I'm sitting there and I'm like, it just blew my mind. It blew my mind. It was just like one of those moments, one of those surreal moments. But again, like, just, I'm so privileged to be able to say that I had that experience and I'm part of this. I mean, it's like when I did Geeking Out with Kevin Smith, that was a dream show. That was like, Kevin's one of my heroes, and he respects and loves everybody just as much as everybody loves and respects him. JJ's the same way. It's like we're all again, we're like geeks with access. It's crazy, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, and even just the character of Snap, I think, is such a testament to not only your portrayal, but also how it's being crafted, because like I went and looked at the Snap Wexley Wikipedia page before this, and it's it's a full book in itself, and there's 3 books about him, and there's a comic series, and like, you know, there's a whole world just based on your performance, which I think is just such a testament to what
Thank you. I have to say, I'm really proud of that. It's more work for me because I got to tell you, people come up to me and they're like, you know, so Nora, let's talk about your mom for a second.
Right.
And then, you know, your love interest, and then the thing, and then, you know, you've got Mr. Bones and the whole thing. And I'm like, if I don't know this stuff,
Right.
if I don't know what's going on,
Yep.
dude, they're going to just
Right.
destroy me. And especially on panels at Comic-Cons and stuff, it's, man. And, you know, although I have to say, everyone is very forgiving and sweet. I mean, I remember I had to host, this is a Star Trek story, but I had to host a panel in Germany, I think. And Mr. William Shatner, who I'm a big fan of,
Right.
I had to just host him. I was like, I was the host.
Right.
He didn't know who the hell I was. And yet we got along great. And it was one of those things where I called my buddy. Well, first of all, Will Wheaton was backstage, and Will's a buddy. And so I was like, Will. And I hosted their panel first, and then I did his. And I said, Will, I don't know enough about Star Trek to do this. And he's like, dude, they don't care. Just don't lie. Just don't fake it. Just
Right.
be. Are you a fan? I'm like, huge fan. I love it. But I just, you can mention a planet or a character or a relationship or a weapon or this. I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, doesn't matter. Just say that. It
Right.
doesn't matter. Everybody, you know, and it's true. There's all these different levels of, it goes back to that SNL sketch where, you know, where Shatner was like, get out, go outside. You know, it's like,
Right.
you know, and slowly I've become, you know, a bit of a nutcase with all of this stuff too, but it's just, it's been great. I mean, to be a part of this and to see that on on Wikipedia, and to know that there's life after. I mean, I hope that I get to continue to play this character. I really do. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure that's probably one of your next questions. It's what I get all the time. And I've talked to Charles Soule, who I feel is one of the greatest writers in the Star Wars universe right now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Charles, there's got to be a like Top Gun of fighter pilots. Like, why aren't we living with these people and seeing the small missions they go on? And like you said, or, you know, people ask me, what happened during the time that you were not in like episode 8? Where were you?
Right.
And to maybe we see that. Maybe we see it in a TV show. Maybe we see the early days of Snap Wexley. Who knows?
Yeah. No, I would love it. And I had a pitch, which is they just did it with, I don't know if you know Dr. Afra, but it's a similar comic series that Marvel is doing. And they're doing an audiobook version first to bring the character fuller to life. And that would be, I think, the best way to do the Poe Dameron series, but as an audio first, and show
That's
that it
smart.
has life. So anyway, I'll pass along to Del Rey and Disney. I'll do my part, right? But
Please do.
We'll see what happens.
Do.
Right?
Yeah, I love it. That'd be awesome.
Well, I mean, filming Force Awakens as well as Rise of Skywalker, I would love to just hear your experiences on set, especially being tactile with that universe that you grew up with, as well as any experiences you might have had being directed by someone. I'm sure you had those conversations that you were mentioning, like, oh, like what would happen like this? But then you're in a cockpit or you're in whatever, maybe having that conversation of what do we do? What can we do? And I'd love to hear a little bit more of that collaboration.
Yeah, I mean, it was really interesting. We have a shorthand. JJ and I, obviously, we're best friends. And so there's a shorthand where he can just skip to, he doesn't have to say what's on his mind. I know what's on his mind, you know, and he like, and tonally, you know, you're shooting these scenes out of sequence, and you have to be reminded of just how morose, how much on the attack we are, how defensive we are, how scared we are. You know, a good director will remind you of that and say, okay, at this point in the script, here's what we're thinking. And, you know, and then even when you do it, you know, it's like, all right, bring it down, bring it up, whatever. JJ, there's some directors that'll come on and go, okay, so we have to remember that in this moment in the story, we're blah, blah, blah. And you're literally putting the actor to sleep. JJ walks up and goes, okay, that was shit. Be a little happier. Let's do it again. I mean, it's just crazy. Or, you know, when Rise of Skywalker, not Rise of Skywalker, but you know, in the first film, episode 7, I was like standing there and I was in awe, you know, and I'm standing and then one of the first scenes I had was around where I had just done recon, and I came back and I'm like, I've got to kind of command these 4 sentences or whatever. It's a big deal. And Harrison Ford standing there, whatever, you know, everybody was there, Anthony, everybody. And so I'm standing there, and my line comes, and I say my line, and then JJ's like, and the take was good, but he came up to me and he was like, hey, dude, between your lines, he whispers to me, he goes, I can see you watching the movie. It's true. Like, I'm like, so I went on recon and blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like looking around like, holy shit, look where I am. And actually Lucasfilm, they were so sweet. They gave me a picture. It's a photo, but it's kind of like saturated. The colors are beautiful. It's almost half, photorealistic and like a comic book, whatever. And it's that scene from up above of all of us around.
Oh, that's great.
One of the things I cherish so much. I love just being in that moment,
Right.
But yeah, I mean, these are the conversations that we have. And then in the cockpit, there's a funny story on Force Awakens where I'm in. So the X-Wing, my X-Wing, by the way, here's a little tidbit. I prepare an A-Wing in Rise of Skywalker and I die in an X-Wing. So was that me that actually died in that X-Wing? I mean, you see me go down, you see me go,
sure.
But do I really die? I mean, is that...
If you don't see a body in Star Wars, they're not dead.
Right.
That's it.
That's what I'm saying. But we were so on the gimbal, and it's like 2 stories up, story and a half, whatever, off the ground, and they're just controlling it like a wild bull, and you're in there. So first of all, to answer your tactile question, I was surprised. I get into the cockpit. I'm a big guy in a little cockpit. Big guy in a little coat. It was like, what's going on? They and at that time they bring this thing down and the cameras are locked, and I'm like, whew. I'm in there and they're like, Greg, you okay? Because I'm not gonna be able to pee. I'm not gonna be able to get out, whatever. And I start looking at all the switches because no one's told me what does what. I want to do the right thing. I'm like, and I can barely hear them because my helmet wasn't custom for me. It was like, here's a helmet from Disneyland, put it on. Let's whatever. So I've got the helmet. I'm doing the whole thing. I'm like, what? And they're using the bullhorn or whatever. And Oscar had just gotten off, and he almost threw up. And he was like, dude, good luck to you, because this thing it's going to be, all over the place.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, so I start playing with buttons, and they start coming off. Like they're rubber cemented on. It's what you would expect. You're like, wait a minute. Is this the same cockpit from the 70s? Like, can't we update the cockpit, man? Use Gorilla Glue or something new? I mean, it was just unbelievable. So that was the first thing. I was like, I broke and they were like, oh, no, don't worry, everybody does. And it's made of balsa wood, and it's just totally like, so that was like ridiculous because I thought, oh, a bull in a china shop. And they're like, nah, don't worry about it. And the camera's on me, so you can't really see what I'm doing. And then I had to say all these lines, right? So I'm like, I got your back and blah, 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 and this and that. And I did all of them. A series, and then just so they can use it, they don't know what they're going to cut to with special effects. And then they said, okay, here's another series of lines you need to say, which is, I've been hit, I'm going down. No. I don't want to, no. And I said, I won't say any of those. And they were like, what are you talking about? And Jess was going up next, and I'm like, I refuse, I will not say it. And they were like, Greg, seriously, that's not funny. And I said, I'm not doing it. And this was second unit. So they called over to JJ and they were like, dude, he won't say those lines. And JJ was like, well, if he won't say them, he won't say them. And I was no dummy. I'm like, you're going to kill whoever you can kill later. If I don't say those lines, I doubt you're just going to have me go down. Right. So it was great. And I knew he wasn't going to kill me. But in the second one, in 9, that was a whole thing where I had heard, during the script writing process, JJ shared with me. He said, we found a really great moment, and unfortunately it's your demise, but I think it's just going to be awesome for the story, awesome for you. It's a quick moment, but I think because people love your character, it might resonate, and I think it did. So
it reminded me in terms of both the pacing of the film, but also the importance of the character to the audience of like Coulson dying in Avengers, a similar kind of turning point for the battle, which again, I mean, if Snap had to go down, I think that was the way to do it, but I would have loved to see. I
agree. I mean, look, going back to The Force Awakens, when Harrison dies, it's, I remember sitting in the theater. That's what I wanted to get to, was I was sitting in the theater. And so I've got, the greatest, music person responsible for films ever, sitting here, and JJ sitting here, and then Harrison Ford dies. And I was like, I turned to JJ and I go, you're not fucking around, man. And it's interesting because, like you said, it's so delicate to bring back a story like that. But there were those shocking moments in The New Hope and in all these movies that we saw that really made you invest in these and say, oh, this is, I mean, you've created a world and it's not real, but this is real. Like they're not messing around. Like anybody could go at any time. The stakes are real. So that, And again, I'm not comparing my character to his at all, but I think there was a little bit of that. Like, you're like, oh, here we go. Here we go. Snap Wexley, his wingman is what just happened to Snap Wexley. It just, it made it real.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I would have loved to seen you and Dennis Lawson on the screen together, but that'll be for the prequel trilogy or whatever is going to happen. So
yeah, that would have been good.
One final question about Star Wars specifically is interacting. You mentioned working with Anthony a little bit, but working with people that might be under mask or under prosthetic or puppets. Like I know when Snap was announced that he was coming back for Rise of Skywalker, was the shot that I still love of you and Claude next to each other, and you're like, like so good. But I'd love to just hear like a little bit about how you approach, and if it's anything different in your process in terms of working with someone that's non-human and someone that's just a typical co-star.
Well, it's a great question, and actually, no one has asked me this question, and it's just practically on set. There are so many things that I take for granted as an actor, like hitting my mark without looking at it, and looking at the matte box, where here's the camera in the matte box, and I have to look right here and pretend like I'm looking into the eyes of the character that I'm having the scene with, because they want that really great moment, but they don't want me looking into the lens. So I've got to look a little bit off. There's all these cheats and things that I'm very good at over the years, just because, and most actors are very good at. It's just we get to do them over and over again. Working with someone who is not actually saying the words is tough. There's sometimes where you'll hear a character's, so that they're moving their mouth. I'm supposed to be looking at them. They're moving their mouth, but the voice is coming from over here. You naturally want to turn to the voice. And there are times when you really have to lock in and remember. I think that's just a very basic thing, but it's something that, and then there are also some of those actors actually, and you can call them puppeteers. They're not, they're actors. They're real actors. They're artisans. They're craftsmen. There's, 3 people that make up one character, and they all have to work together. I mean, there was somebody inside Claude, there was somebody on the tentacles, and then there's somebody working the eyes and the mouth and everything. And it's just like, they're not playing a video game. They're not messing around, man. They are such pros. They give you such emotion, and they listen. That's the key is, a good actor is not one that can just, say the words, but can really take in the words. That's the whole thing, is like listening, and listening with your eyes, listening with, just think the thoughts, think about what you're hearing, and it'll come across on screen. We're right here, it's like when you're right there on a person's face, and they make that happen with these puppets, and with these characters. And then, I'm wearing basically a thick, jumpsuit that you would have to wear if you got a DUI picking up trash on the side of the freeway. But it's thick, and it's like, and then I've got these boots, and what a whining actor. He's got the helmet. Guess what? I don't complain. When I see these people, these men and women get out of their prosthetics, when I see Anthony Daniels, dude, that guy, it is skin tight. I mean, there's no space between him and the suit. And yes, they have now the suits, they have little fans in them and everything, but it's nothing. I mean, they are, talk about just doing everything for the cause, for the craft, for the ultimate project. They are the biggest team players. Anthony Daniels is my hero, man. That guy, he brings it, and he really brings the emotion. He's such a great actor, and he finally got the material he deserved. In Rise of Skywalker. I was so happy for him. And after the premiere, I went up to him and I just said, it's so long overdue that someone as incredibly talented and devoted to their craft as you is given an opportunity to show what they can do. And not that he was in tears, but he so appreciated that. I meant every word of it. I feel so lucky to have worked with him and all of the other, incredible puppeteers and craft people, so many characters. By the way, Star Wars, JJ said this once to me. He was like, look where we are. Look where we are. And I'm like, oh, I know. This is crazy. He's like, no. I have to have a shot that goes through this crowd, and that little trash can with a mouth, I could do a whole movie on that character. They're not just thrown together. They're so well thought out. They're so detailed and beautiful. And he just, he really, that's when I kind of took note of everything. I was like, wow, this is incredible. And then By the way, there's some cameos that you don't even know. I mean, did you know Jeff Garland?
Yeah, he's like in alien makeup. Yeah.
Yeah, he's this blue alien. And Jeff's a friend, and we're on the set, and I hear, oh, there's Grunny. What is he all about? And I'm like, Jeff? Like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
There's a moment when there's this celebration moment. This is a really funny story. So they bring me to set, and I come in, and then it's when we come back, and there's victory, and this is in Force Awakens, and I'm sorry, The Rise of Skywalker, and everybody's hugging everybody in there. He's like, all right, so Giannis, you're gonna hug her, and all these extras and people coming up, and then it's like, okay, Greg, you and Lynn are gonna hug, and I'm like, Lynn. I look over, it's Lin-Manuel Miranda. I'm like, oh my God, greatest guy ever. Talk about heroes.
Yeah.
So I go, okay, so we're gonna, and then JJ, then he shattered my world. JJ goes, oh shit, and he comes up to me, he whispers in my ear, he goes, dude, and no one knew. He's like, you die, so you can't be here right now. And I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, you die. Remember? I'm like, oh shit. And he goes, Lynn, and Lynn goes, you die? And I'm like, yeah. And we were like, shh, keep it down. There's like 500 people there.
Right.
And so I had to leave. I had to leave the set. I had to go back to my trailer. I was like, oh. But I got to, and then later hung out with Lynn a little bit. But still, like, that's the coolest thing, is that there's an appreciation from everyone for this franchise.
Yeah.
When Bob Iger shows up on set, is taking selfies with Anthony Daniels. Like, you're like, dude, you're the boss. You're the guy that is so brilliant that says, no, this is a whole world, and blah, blah. You bought this thing. And he appreciates it as much as we do. That's just the best.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so great. And I mean, as listeners of this show will know, and by just going through the guest list, I love every puppeteer, every person that made the costumes. It's part of that fabric of Star Wars that I think really makes Star Wars Star Wars. So I'm glad it comes across on the set as well. I wouldn't want to take too much of your time, but I'd love to talk. We talked about Dream Jumper a little bit. Are there any other upcoming projects that you would like to talk about, excited about?
Yeah, I mean, there's one that I'm doing right now that's really cool in the age of COVID, that I partnered with Warner Media 150, which is an incubator at Warner Media, and they're really great. I mean, if you don't know Warner Media 150, look it up, because you'll see they take risks with really brilliant filmmakers and storytellers that are just starting out, but they're great. And so they said, we have a stable of these amazing writers, and they need material, and I grabbed on right away. That was a Facebook post. And Diego Cantu, who's a producer at my company, he reached out to them and said, wait a minute, we have, Greg knows every actor. These guys would love to participate. So Warner 150, they donated millions of dollars to the Actors Fund, millions of dollars to the Producers Pension Fund, and all that. And so all these actors, great actors. So it's called The Insiders. Okay. And if people aren't familiar with it, we shoot these 5 pages and under scenes. We did 5 of them on Zoom. You can find them on youtube.com/Greg Grunberg channel. That's where they're living now, but where they premiere and where the audience has seen them is through Legion M, which is, and I'm sure you're familiar with Legion M. So Legion M, they went out to their 100,000 members, Legion members, and we premiere it on Legion M's Twitch channel. And we're shooting 3 more. So go to youtube.com/Greg Grunberg channel. You'll see all of those, the 5 that we've done. They're great. They're like SNL type sketches. I direct all of those. And then now we're doing 3 more, and we're practically shooting them. So we're going outside the house, very safe. And we're just about to do those. So that's something I'm really proud of right now that I'm doing. And then I'm on a game show that's just so silly. It's so great. I love it so much. It's called 25 Words or Less. It's on twice a day, and I'm like the celebrity guest on it. I love it. We're coming back to do 180 episodes. It's really fun. So,
oh, wow. That's great. Well, cool. I'll put both of those links in the show notes. But Greg, thank you for coming on and telling all these stories. It really means a lot.
Oh, dude, thank you. Anytime. And if you want me to pop on and answer a question here or there, dude, you're so cool. And you're going to be my stunt double. With that beard, I can put a helmet on you. And there you go. You're a thinner.
I wasn't going to say, it's Snap Wexley, I think, to me, really grabbed, because it was like, okay, like, I could be an X-Wing pilot, too. Like, this is great.
Exactly. Well, no, you should be Snap Wexley in the afterlife.
There we go.
That's what we'll do.
Okay. All right, perfect. All right, Greg, thank you so much.
Hey, be well.
In case you couldn't hear me smiling throughout the episode, it was such an honor to have Mr. Grunberg on the show. Also in the show notes, be sure to check out Mr. Grunberg's Dream Jumper, as well as the incredible series, The Insiders, that he is currently producing, hosted on his YouTube channel. And that will do it for this week. We have so much planned for the upcoming episodes, from Terryl Whitlatch to Scott Trowbridge, so just buckle up, and until next time, stay tuned, leave a 5-star review, and may the force be with you.